Shadows in the night. The wind whispered through the trees, sending shivers down my spine as I sat alone in my dimly lit living room. It was past midnight, and the house was shrouded in darkness, the only illumination coming from the faint glow of the streetlights outside. As I sipped my tea, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over me like a heavy cloak. It was a feeling I'd been experiencing more and more lately, a sense of being watched, of something lurking just beyond the edge of my vision. I tried to push the thoughts away, to tell myself that it was just my imagination running wild. But deep down I knew that something was wrong. And then, without warning, the silence was shattered by the sound of breaking glass. My heart leaped into my throat as I spun around, my eyes wide with terror as I saw the shattered window behind me. And then, as if in a nightmare, I saw them. Figures emerged from the darkness, their faces twisted into grotesque masks of rage as they advanced towards me. I tried to scream, to call for help, but no sound escaped my lips as they closed in around me, their hands outstretched and grasping. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the nightmare ended. I awoke with a start, my heart pounding in my chest as I realized that it had all been a dream. But as I lay there in the darkness, I couldn't shake the feeling that it had been more than just a figment of my imagination. The next day, I tried to go about my daily routine as if nothing had happened, but the memory of the dream lingered in the back of my mind, a constant reminder of the fear that had gripped me in the dead of night. As the days turned into weeks, the feeling of unease only grew stronger, until it was all I could think about. I found myself jumping at the slightest noise, my nerves on edge as I waited for the next sign of danger. And then one night it happened. I was awoken by the sound of footsteps outside my bedroom door, soft and insistent. My heart leapt into my throat as I listened, paralyzed with fear as the footsteps drew nearer and nearer. And then, with a creak of hinges, the door swung open, revealing a figure standing in the doorway. It was a man, his face hidden in the shadows as he stared at me with cold, unseeing eyes. I tried to scream, to call for help, but no sound escaped my lips as the man advanced towards me, his movements slow and deliberate. And then, with a sudden burst of strength, he lunged at me, his hands outstretched and grasping. I fought back with all the strength I could muster, kicking and screaming as I tried to push him away. But he was relentless, his grip like iron around my throat as he pinned me to the bed. And then, just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, the bedroom door burst open, flooding the room with light as my roommate rushed in, her eyes wide with terror as she saw the scene before her. With a cry of alarm, she lunged at the man, pulling him away from me with all her strength. And as he stumbled backwards, I saw something glinting in his hand, something that sent a chill down my spine. It was a knife, its blade stained with blood. With a surge of adrenaline, I scrambled to my feet, racing out of the room and into the safety of the hallway. But even as I fled, I could hear the sounds of struggle behind me, the clashing of metal against metal as my roommate fought for her life. And then, with a sickening thud, the noise stopped, replaced by an eerie silence that hung heavy in the air. I wanted to go back to help her, but I knew that it was too late. The man had won, and there was nothing I could do to change that. As I stumbled out into the night, my heart heavy with grief and guilt, I realized that the nightmare I had experienced was nothing compared to the horrors that lurked in the darkness of the real world. And as I looked out at the empty streets, I knew that I would never be able to shake the feeling of fear that had taken root in my soul, a constant reminder of the true evil that lay hidden just beyond the edge of our perception. The visitor in the night. The house stood silent and still, nestled among the trees at the end of a long, winding road. It was a place of solitude, a haven from the chaos of the outside world. But little did the inhabitants know, their peaceful sanctuary would soon be shattered by a terror beyond imagination. It was a warm summer evening when the first signs of trouble appeared. The family had just finished dinner and retired to their rooms for the night, the soft glow of lamplight casting shadows against the walls. As they slept, a figure crept through the darkness, moving with the stealth of a predator stalking its prey. It slipped through the unlocked back door, its footsteps silent against the hardwood floors as it made its way through the house. The family slept on, unaware of the danger lurking just beyond their doors. But as the night wore on, they began to stir, their dreams interrupted by a sense of unease that hung heavy in the air. And then, with a sudden jolt, they awoke to find themselves face to face with the intruder. It was a man, his face shrouded in darkness as he stood over their beds, a twisted smile playing at the corners of his lips. He moved with a grace that belied his intentions, his eyes gleaming with malice as he watched the family with predatory intent. They tried to scream to call for help, but no sound escaped their lips as the man advanced towards them, his hands outstretched and grasping. And then, with a sudden burst of violence, he lunged at them, his fingers like talons as he tore into their flesh. The family fought back with all the strength they could muster, but it was no use. The intruder was relentless, his grip like iron around their throats as he pinned them to the bed, his laughter echoing through the empty house. And then, just when it seemed that all hope was lost, a noise rang out from the darkness, a sound that sent a shiver down the intruder's spine. It was the sound of police sirens, growing louder and louder as they approached the house. With a curse, the intruder fled into the night, disappearing into the shadows like a wraith. The family lay there in shock, their bodies bruised and battered, their minds reeling from the terror they had just endured. And as the police burst through the door, their faces twisted with horror at the scene before them, they knew that their lives would never be the same again. As the days turned into weeks, the family tried to move on from the nightmare that had invaded their home. They installed security cameras and reinforced the locks on their doors, desperate to keep out any future intruders. But no matter how hard they tried, they could never shake the feeling of fear that had taken root in their hearts. The memory of that fateful night haunted their dreams, a constant reminder of the evil that lurked just beyond their walls. And as they lay awake at night, listening to the sounds of the house creaking and settling around them, they knew that they would never truly be safe again. For the intruder was still out there, waiting in the shadows, biding his time until the moment was right to strike once more.